With the Men's Six Nations now over, I thought I'd make a video that shows exactly which players perform best in terms of fantasy points. I'm sure next year this video will be one you want to go back and watch to see which players to pick ready for the next Six Nations. Or even when the Autumn Nations Fantasy Cup arrives later this year. So let's take a look at this year's best fantasy starting 15. So to kick it all off, in the first prop position is Ellis Genge. Now I'm pretty sure he's been in my team the whole tournament. He's been such a key player for England lately, and without his ball carrying ability, they will really be struggling even more. He managed to make 40 tackles in his 5 games and astonishingly make 271 metres, which is double of any other prop in the tournament. Maybe the game against France helped that somewhat when he was actually put in the backfield, but still you can't select that performance. An average of almost 34 points per game is fantastic for a prop, so he's definitely got to be a player to have in at all times, even if England aren't performing as they should. Next up at hooker is Sheehan. With a man of the match and a try in the final game, this boosted him way into the lead against other hookers in the tournament. He also made a significant amount of metres with 248, which is 100 more than second place Elias. So this just proves that my tactic of targeting players who can make metres is a really decent way to go. Sheehan was also a substitute for the first 2 games, so credit to him for stepping up. An average of 42 points for a young guy in his first Six Nations is unbelievable. The final front rower is Cyril Bai. He made less metres than a few props this year, but still managed 127. His tackling and physicality is where he was rewarded with points, and also the fact that France won every game, so that did help him out too. He also bagged a try in his 5 games, which is decent for a prop. I think we can all agree that Bai, like Genge, is a new generation of props who like to do lots more work around the field than just scrum. Paul Valencia is the first player in the second row. He's been an absolute rock for France this Six Nations, and there's no surprise that he's in here. He doesn't do anything fancy, but he literally does the hard stuff, the hard yards, hard tackles. He just gets through lots of work, so this has compiled really and meant that he's in the starting team for the best fantasy players, so fair play to Valencia. A player which you might not have thought you'd see in this starting 15 is Rawlins. Now once again, he made well over 200 metres this tournament, which is more than double of any other second row. Obviously Wales came 5th, but Rawlins seemed to be a decent cog in the engine of Wales's pack. 200 metres for a second row is also unbelievable, so fair play to Rawlins. He must have had a pretty decent tank to be able to do that. And to kick off the back row, we have a player of the tournament nominee in Josh van der Flier. What a Six Nations this man has had. He's topped the charts for back row players in fantasy, so you know he's double decent. With 2 tries to his name and a man of the match, this gave him some really good points. Along with 264 metres made, this is up there with the back row performers. With Ireland doing so well as well, this boosted his points even more. I can't wait to see him play again. He's just so powerful even though he doesn't look the biggest. And that's probably the best compliment I can give him. Another player of the tournament nominee now in Greg Aldy. Now he made the most metres of all back rowers in this Six Nations. You're probably sick of hearing it from me now, but this definitely helps in terms of fantasy points. He actually didn't manage to get over for any tries, which is a shock for Aldy, as he's normally one of France's most lethal threats close to the line. But an average of just under 50 points per game is crazy, so thoroughly deserved his spot in this team. Lastly in the back row is Kailyn Dorris. Maybe another one to slip under the radar slightly, but having played all 5 games, he managed to make the best start in 15. Nothing special from Dorris other than 300 metres made, but he works very hard for his side and it shows. He almost got awarded a try, but unfortunately it was judged to be no try. But he didn't even need that to make this team, so fair play to him. There's only one man that can take the 9th spot, and that's Antoine Dupont. With an average score per game of 54 points, he's by far the best 9 choice this year. And 2 tries in 2 man of the matches doesn't sound too bad either. He of course made the most meters of all scrum halves, and obviously captained France to their Grand Slam victory, and you just saw how much it meant to him at the final whistle. So it's thoroughly deserved, and I can't wait to see Dupont in action once again. One of the most consistent performers this year was Marcus Smith. It was his first Six Nations, and to be honest, he smashed it in terms of fantasy. An average of 66 points per game is just sublime, and he was England's go-to player for most games, especially in that Scotland one where he scored all the points. He also made over 400 metres, which was well over double any other 10. He is just a different kind of player, and he thrives on fantasy points clearly. So a great pick for most game weeks. First in the centres is Gary Ringrose, who averaged almost 50 points per game, which again is crazy. Of course he made the most metres, we know that fantasy love to reward running players. He's also a key outlet for that Irish team. When structure is lacking, Ringrose seems to pop up and go on a mazy run, which really breaks the defensive gain line. For me, that's why he's such a good player, in real life and on fantasy. So definitely a player to have in the next series. Gael Fickou partners him in the centre. He actually picked up 2 tries this tournament, which is always rewarding in fantasy. But of course Fickou is more than just running metres and tries. He's the leader of that French defence, and is key in balancing the French flair with sheer determination. I enjoy watching Fickou play, and obviously France are lucky to have him in their side. Despite only playing 3 games, James Lowe was the highest scoring winger this year. That is just utterly brilliant, seeing as though many other wingers actually played all 5 games. His impact for Ireland is huge, and this certainly shows that. Not only did he make 439 metres, but he also got 3 tries in 3 games, which is one hell of a return. With his left boot being a key outlet for Ireland, this makes him such a valuable member of the team, and one of the reasons why they finished second just behind France. Weirdly though, Lowe only made 2 tackles according to fantasy statistics, which does seem really strange to me. If this is right, I guess this just shows the importance of attack versus defence in fantasy rugby. The other winger pick was slightly more close in terms of points, but due to him playing every game, Darcy Graham made it into the side. Obviously Flier and Penaud managed to get more average points, but they only played 4 games, whereas Graham managed to pick up more total points. He made 392 metres and beat an astonishing 19 defenders, more than any other wing bar Montejuani. He's become a real threat for Scotland, and definitely one of the starting wingers for sure. And at fullback is Scotland captain Stuart Hogg. Now this is why I love the fullback position so much. Hogg made 653 metres this tournament, which is 150 more than second place. He scored 1 try as well and beat 15 defenders. I would have said it would have been more than that,